Hello, yes, welcome to the people them. Happy Friday. I got this incredible lineup and I'm super excited, and I hope that you guys stay tuned and make sure that you tune in because I'm going to go over slavery from the beginning. All right, we're going to talk about right up until this point. Yes, we're going to talk about those major incidents that has shaped the world and America for what it is. My name is Yolanda and welcome to Flash Black Friday, where every Friday I flash black, yes, to a revolutionary hero or a hero who has made an impact within our community. And guess who's on the menu today? It's a man named John. Yes, John Brown. I'm sure you already seen the title, so that's a spoiler alert. You see, the difference with this story is John Brown is not a black man. In fact, he is a white man. But I have to talk about him because this story is incredible, you know? If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so that you can get notified when I post a new video. Yes! And I also want to thank you guys so much for tuning in and keeping me going and keeping me motivated and giving me these incredible story ideas. So I'm not going to go and prolong this intro. I'm just going to get right into it. John Brown, passionate in his hate for slavery, he and his 5 sons were willing to die for their cause. John Brown was the leading figure in the abolitionist movement, leading a group on a raid against the federal armory in Harper's Ferry, Virginia, with hopes to start an armed revolt of enslaved people. He was not a pacifist. He believed in the aggressive approach when dealing with slaveholders and government officials in which enabled them. Born from his parents, Owen and Ruth Mills Brown. I feel like every story I talk about, there is a Ruth in it. John Brown was born May 9th, 1800, in Connecticut. However, he was raised in Ohio. Now, John Brown's family was highly against slavery. They were a staunchy and Calvinist bunch. In fact, their home was actually a key stop for the Underground Railroad. Yes, you heard correctly. His father played an active role in bringing former enslaved individuals to their freedom. Yes, that is what Owen Brown did. Thank you. Their home was a safe haven for fugitives. And so it's only natural with age that John knew that he wanted to destroy the institution of slavery. Now, there was a couple incidents that has helped to shape his path to anti-slavery. After the brutal murder of a Presbyterian minister and activist, Elijah P. Lovejoy, and attending an abolitionist meeting up in Cleveland, he publicly announced his dedication to destroy the institution of slavery. Yes, he did. He did that because he wanted to destroy it, duh. He attended an abolitionist meeting in Cleveland, and he publicly announced his desire and dedication to destroy the institution of slavery. He actually stated, and I quote, "Here before God, in the presence of these witnesses, from this time I consecrate my life to the destruction of slavery." And in early 1848, he began to formulate a plan for an insurrection. Now, by 1850, Brown and his sons traveled to Kansas, ready to fight against the pro-enslavers. Yes, they did that. They were like, Hatsiya, Hotai, I'ma fight you guys tonight. They were confident that they could bring Kansas under the union of a free state. Yes. Now, their mark in Kansas actually sparked headlines known as the Potawatomi Massacre. Now, just 4 days earlier, before the attack on May 21st, 1856, the pro-slavery men raided the abolitionist town of Lawrence. And Brown was upset. He personally sought revenge. He was like, I'm coming for you guys. Yeah, and people like you guys. May 25th, 1856, he and his sons attacked 3 cabins along the Potawatomi Creek, killing a total of 5 men. However, one of his sons was murdered during this attack. Now, this This ultimately ended up triggering a summer of guerrilla warfare. So let's talk about this raid that he is famous for. John Brown rented the Kennedy farmhouse with a small cabin nearby, just 4 miles north of Harper's Ferry. Brown came with a small group of men minimally trained for military action. His group included about 15 white men and 7 black men. On the night of October 16th, 1859, Brown and his gang overran the arsenal. Owen Brown's, which is his son, even though, yes, there's 2 Owen Browns. One is his son, which he named after his father, Owen Brown. His son, along with a few members, they captured Colonel Lewis Washington, which was actually the great-grandson of George Washington. In the meantime, Brown and his men began the raid on Harper's Ferry with hopes to gain as much weapons as they can to arm the blacks and others who are ready to fight against this institutionalized racism. Now, they needed to do this quickly before officials out in Washington, D.C. gained word of what was going on, because we know that they would send backup. Now, John Brown had high hopes, and he truly believed that the slaves would surely fight side by side with him. But they did not show up. And he waited a little bit too long for them to show up before he realized that, they're on their own. Now, I want to know your opinion. Back in the 1800s, a white man come and they tell you that, you need to show up. They're going to give you guns and weapons and stuff to protect yourself. Are you going to help them run a revolt? Or are you going to just, not trust him, especially because he has a white face? I don't know. I'd be a little bit hesitant, like, what are you trying to do, sir? Now, during this raid, John Brown captured a lot of individuals, and some of them were actually enslaved. Now, the local slaves that Brown had taken from Kennedy Farm, they did not want the revolt, and they did not want his weapons. Can you blame them? They thought, why would a white man encourage them for a revolt? This was just something that was unheard of. They had no reason to look and take this at face value. And you also have to remember, a lot of enslaved people at the time, they were illiterate. We know why, but they were illiterate, and they really didn't know any better. A lot of them believed that they were actually about to be resold, and others just ran away from Brown. Now, in the midst of this debacle, there was a Baltimore train heading down to the Capitol, and it was stopped. A baggage handler, who just so happened to be a black man, was one of the first to be murdered during this revolt. Now, Brown decided, you know what, they stopped the train, but they're just gonna let it go. And he later reflected on this and said that was probably the biggest and only mistake that he made, was letting the train go. Because when he did that, of course, the conductor, when he got to his destination, he informed of what was going on. During this time, the men captured several hostages, including a few enslaved people. Local townspeople began to fight back and formed their own militia, blocking off a bridge that crossed over the Potomac River, cutting off their escape route. Men from Baltimore and Ohio Railroad assisted in countering Brown and his men, forcing them to barricade in the Armory engine, which they later named John Brown's Fort. Word of this raid spread, and by morning, Brown and his men were surrounded. Several of the hostages were freed, although there was about 8 men who died in this gunfire exchange. While they were under heavy fire, Brown actually sent out one of his sons to wave a white flag and surrender, but his son was shot and mortally wounded. Unfortunately, the following morning, he passed away. A company of the U.S. Marines arrived early that morning on October 17th, and this was led by Colonel Robert E. Lee, as well as Lieutenant J.E.B. Stewart. Lee ordered Brown to surrender, but Brown refused, causing the Marines to storm in. So ultimately, Brown and his soldiers, they were overthrown. They ended up killing about 10 of his men, 2 of them being his sons. Brown was wounded. They tried to take as much people alive as possible. There was more white fighting this battle for the blacks. So thank you to those brave souls. 7 of these men were actually trialed and executed afterwards. However, 5 of them was able to escape. One of them being John's son. Yes. Brown was tried by the state of Virginia for treason and murder. He was found guilty on November 2nd of 1959. The 59-year-old abolitionist and hero went to the gallows on December 2nd, 1859. And before his execution, he slipped his guard a paper. He was like, listen, I'm not done talking. This is what I have to say. Make sure it gets out there and let the people know. Browns said, and I quote, I, John Brown, am now quite certain that the crimes of this guilty land will never be purged away but with blood. This was such a powerful and prophetic statement. Brown was hung on December 2nd, 1859. His wife, Mary Ann, took his body back to the family farm, which was upstate New York. Well, of course, to bury him. Duh. Why else would she take the body? Now, that farm is actually now owned by New York State, and it is now a national landmark called the John Brown Farm State Historic Site. Although the raid did not go as planned, the tensions between both races definitely raised. The South was already worried about a rebellion with their enslaved folks. This was something they were anticipating, so to see it happen in the works from their own people, they were like, So definitely tensions did rise. Like I said, although it didn't go as planned, this raid actually became very important when it came to the Civil War. It inflamed sectional tension and raised the stakes for the 1860 presidential election. So a fun fact about this story is John Brown actually recruited Frederick Douglass to fight with him. But Douglass was like, this is a suicide mission. And he also went to Harriet Tubman and he was like, yo, so this is the plan. And she's like, hey, say no more. I'm gonna try to gather some people for you to get this raid going. I just thought that was interesting because had they decided to participate in that raid, would Frederick Douglass be known for what Frederick Douglass is known for? Would Harriet Tubman be Harriet Tubman that we know today? Or do you think their names would have been watered down and washed away? I mean, let me know what you think in the comment sections below. That was the story of Mr. John Brown and his sons and his team and how they didn't successfully succeed in their mission. However, they did definitely spark something within others with the civil rights movement, okay? It definitely made an impact and it definitely helped to shape the Civil War. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Do you think he was doing too much? Do you think he was doing too little? Do you think he should have waited? I feel like he should have waited a little bit more until he had such a huge team. But then he was also getting older, and he was probably just very, very angry. So he was like, listen, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to die for the cause. And guess what? He did what he said he was going to do, and he died for the cause. That makes him a man. That makes him a man of his word, and that makes him a great person, so good that he made this cut for this video. If you haven't already, make sure you like and subscribe so that you can get notified, when I upload a new video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And like I say all the time, have enough courage to start and enough heart to finish, okay? Whatever it is that you're doing in your life, keep that motto. And what do I always say after that? Learn something new. When? Every day. Bye.